everyone! Okay, so after watching Resident Evil Death Island and thinking to myself, how the F can this be legit? I tried to push myself back to remember their amazing stuff like Resident Evil 4 Remake, and boy, how hyped could I be for Resident Evil 9? All the possibilities, imagine. Let's talk about the potentials and possibilities of Resident Evil 9 and how I can look forward to it. Okay, first things first. Let me know in the comments that if you were a fan of Resident Evil 8 and 7 and whether or not you enjoyed Resident Evil 4 Remake. For me, playing 4, the remake I mean, was a blast. 7 felt like an entirely different game but cool nonetheless, and it was intriguing. It has both some good and bad aspects to it. So what do we know about Resident Evil 9 so far? A guy named Dusk Golem is famous for leaking information about Resident Evil 9. He said that the game will be officially unveiled in the summer or the late summer of 2024 and it will be released on 2025. And apparently Capcom plans to release one important version of Resident Evil every 2 years. I wish they would plan something about DMC as well. My poor boys and girls, Dante, Virgil, Nero, and the rest. Trish, lady, they are not getting enough attention. Just look how cool and how sexy the gameplay is. It's just so good, like Okay, I'm so sorry. We'll continue. The leaker, get the joke, also said that we'll see an IP in 2024 from Capcom, but we don't know what. The title of Resident Evil 9 will probably be Apocalypse. It kinda can be confusing with the movie. It will be the last game featuring Chris Redfield. It just makes me sad to even think about it. You know, if Chris is gone and we'll see him no more, then who shall continue to bug Leon about continuing the Redfield bloodline with Clair? And also, who would be our bulky guy with a certain attitude to threat a rock and boulder? Another pitch is that the game will be single player with no co-op, and Jill will be available in the game and she will play a similar role to Ada in Resident Evil 4 and Remake. The game will continue Chris's journey in Europe with BSAA mission after Resident Evil 8, and Chris has always had one of the most emotional campaigns and the most direct conflicts regarding Albert Wesker and even his son Jake. It would be so amazing if we could just have Sheva back as well, but I don't think this is something Capcom would go for. Her character got forgotten way too soon after the trauma she went through with Chris. It would be interesting to see more interactions between Jake and Chris as well, but it would be the smart move for Capcom. But again, they might not go to that direction. And it will seem like the story of Winters won't continue in the 9th game, and the game would also use some assets from Resident Evil 8 and 4 Remake. And an interesting leak is that Claire might make a cameo appearance, and both Jill and Chris will survive since it was confirmed, at least for Chris more, in Resident Evil 8 DLC. Albert Wesker was shown in the Remake game, but he won't be brought back to life in Resident Evil 9. That would be just stupid, and I think kind of a waste of what happened in Resident Evil 5. It is also discussed that the protagonist must sacrifice a loved one to make an antidote, so it might be Claire who dies. And oh boy, if that happens, how would the Redfield bloodline continue? And it is also said that a castle like in Resident Evil 4 or 8 will be seen in the game. It is also unknown if the gameplay will be similar to 7, 8 or 2 and 4 remakes. Which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comments again. And about the IP that's going to be announced, and we have no idea what it could be, wouldn't it be cool if it was a remake of Code Veronica or Resident Evil 0? However, I think just as an extra option, remaking the original game in third-person mode would be great, but had a function where you can play with the originally fixed camera angles if you want. That would be like the ultimate edition and it would be incredible. Resident Evil 9 can learn from Resident Evil 4 Remake in multiple environments like castles, villages, battleships, and temples. They could also use the aspects of playing different campaigns and chapters from Resident Evil 6 and keep the survival horror and add the open world that Village had but expanded and have new areas based on different themes. But the main thing it needs is zombies and giant animals, bioweapons. Maybe they could appear in zoos, cemeteries, churches, but add more variety to the enemies and horror. They can both keep the first person and third person, have it even change with a button, a click, but we have to see where Capcom goes from here. There are also lots of theories going about the past events in the game that must somehow relate to the future, like how the mold can only have positive effects on Ethan. Evelyn might have something to do with that, but like this can also relate to why it takes so much longer for the other main characters in the game and movies, animations to get affected by stuff or have resistance. Also looking at the AI, the most monsters and zombies in Resident Evil 8 weren't that bright compared to Resident Evil 4 remake, but it also like different environments, different places, different stuff. Ethan could outmaneuver the monsters way more easier than Leon could in Resident Evil 4 remake. Although again, the game 8 was more of a psychological horror mixed with a bit of action. The environment and creatures in the Resident Evil 9 would be somewhat of a rural ghost town place with forest and Wendigo-like monsters according to some rumors. Will they include parry system as well? It can be a different shape and form for Chris, but we all know how Chris is bulkier than Leon, so maybe he could do it with his biceps. Have you seen those biceps, man? Have you played Resident Evil 7 DLC? If you're a guy who can punch boulders, zombies must be a paperweight thing to you. Capcom, I really hope you take into deep consideration and take lessons from the past experiences, both wrong and right events, and apply them to the next game, wrap it up nicely, and just wait for us fans to receive it. What theories do you have? What are your opinions? Please let me know in the comments down below, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye bye!
When they do what they do, and now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know